Guys for being here. I'm Carissa, and I'm delivering a little session on Microsoft Store running on Microsoft. So as I was saying earlier on LinkedIn, kind of consider this kind of the brain candy of the event, in the sense that a lot of the other sessions here are about learning the technologies and getting deeper so you can go out and change the world. And what I'm going to talk about are outcomes from your work. Talk about stories. I'm going to talk about how Microsoft Store actually runs on Microsoft. Some of the things we are doing may actually surprise you. So this event is amazing. Super appreciative of the sponsors, super appreciative of the community. I had the privilege of being here and presenting last year, and absolutely just fell in love with everyone here. So really quick, a little bit about me. I've been blessed to be with Microsoft for a long time. Hello, dear. I prefer not to tell people how long I've been at Microsoft because people start doing math, and I think I'd prefer that you just continue to think I'm 36 years old. But my background is sales, and my background is business applications. So I've been involved in business applications for over 14 years, which if you know a little bit about the timeline of business applications, that means CRM 1.0 on-premise. I've had a lot of different roles, both in the US and worldwide. I am most comfortable in front of a business decision maker audience. So my thing is every interaction is an opportunity for impact. And I will tell you that every single step I've taken in my career at Microsoft has led me to the job I'm in now. And it is an absolute privilege and honor, because what I get to do is I get to talk about digital transformation at Microsoft Store. So every week I am meeting with companies, mostly retailers, but not always, people with first-line workers around the world, to share our journey and to ideate with them, right? And to discuss what challenges they are facing and how we've looked at it, and we still haven't figured it out, so what are you thinking? And it's these amazing sessions, and each one is really different. And it's the kind of way that it's the future for us if you think about Microsoft building relationships with accounts. I'm not selling them anything. I would love it if we're meeting in a store. I would absolutely love it if they bought a Surface as they walked out the door. I would. But I'm not selling them anything. I'm there to deepen the relationships, right? I'm there to help accelerate deals. I'm there to help discover new use cases, and it's amazing. So I'll talk a little bit about that and the positioning there and some of the interesting conversations, with the hopes that that helps you when you go into these accounts to talk about the technology, to have this context about what the outcomes can look like for your customers. Then I would love to show you a little bit about how Microsoft Store runs on Microsoft. And we can talk about different areas, and then we'll get specific into biz apps. And if you're interested, I'll show you some of the tools we actually use. So when we talk about digital transformation at Microsoft Retail, as I was talking about, been blessed to be at the company for a long time, worked with really amazing groups of people. No one, though, embodies Microsoft's mission statement more than the group at Microsoft Store. And think about it this way. So if somebody walks into our store, all we want to do is show them something cool. We don't care who they are that day. And think about you and your world, right? So if someone walks into the store, she could be walking in as the CFO of a Fortune 500 company, right? Or she could be walking in as the mom getting her daughter ready for college. Or she could be walking in as the board member of a not-for-profit, so she's looking for a small business solution. Or she could be walking in as the gamer because that's kind of her side thing, right? We all wear different personas, and all that we care about at Microsoft Store is getting to know that persona and earning the right to engage with you in whatever persona you happen to be that day. That's pretty powerful. That is a first-line worker. A first-line worker is the first person at a company, not necessarily retail, that touches the customer. They are the extension of your brand. So if you'll humor me, I'm going to show you a little video about Microsoft Store. And hopefully this will capture the energy.
Microsoft Store is the place to experience all that is possible with Microsoft and its partners.
We represent the diverse customers we serve, with diverse teams representing over 190 countries around the world. Whether customers are walking through our physical door, shopping on Microsoft.com, Microsoft Store serves as a trusted advisor to help customers find the right solutions for their needs.
Our physical stores are deeply involved in the communities that we serve, building relationships and philanthropic programs that give back and make Microsoft technology more accessible.
Microsoft Store is the best destination for gaming for everyone, meeting gamers where they are with the content they want.
We are passionate about bringing technology and digital skills to students and teachers. We lead STEM and coding camps for kids and host professional development workshops for educators. In the same way that we serve consumers, Microsoft Stores empowers businesses of all sizes to optimize their organization and build stronger relationships with customers, suppliers, and vendors through customer success trainings and enterprise experience tours.
At Microsoft Store, we are trusted advisors to every Microsoft customer on the planet, whether they are an enterprise CIO, a small business, a college-bound teen, a hardcore gamer, or a mom who wants to connect and interact. We take pride in being part of our customers' success stories and empowering people and organizations around the world to achieve more.
Microsoft Store. Awesome. I hope that captured a little bit of the energy that you felt. It's exhausting at times, but it's really the energy that we bring within Store. And what you saw in that, there's a lot about communities, and there's a lot about outreach, and there's more that we're going to talk about. Here's the thing. We're enterprise class retail. We haven't done a great job telling this story in the past. We have 83 physical store locations. 3 of those are flagships. Now, granted, that's not 22,000 like Starbucks. However, it's 83 physical locations. The flagships are in London. That's our newest one. We're going to talk about that in just a second. Sydney, Australia, and New York on Fifth Avenue. The majority of the other stores are in North America. In addition to that, we have 473 digital storefronts across 190 countries. So if you think about our digital storefronts, that's xbox.com, that's store.microsoft.com, and then it's the app within your operating system. So we've pretty much got the globe covered. Now, in our physical locations, we have over 100 languages spoken by our store employees. And that wasn't just one day we woke up and said, I wonder how many people speak French, and had people raise their hands. This is deliberate. Because if you go back to the video, and what we'll talk about here in a minute, when you're working on engaging with a person or a community, oftentimes the best way to do that is in their native language, right? So this is a very deliberate decision, along with other decisions we have made. 1.3 million is an interesting number as well. That's not the number of transactions in a store. 1.3 million is the number of customers per year that we engage with some kind of an experience, okay? So that's people coming in for training, coming in for Fortnite Fridays, coming in to talk about enterprise experiences, a company visiting us to learn how we run our business. And the reason why that is important, I didn't ask you before if you had a retail background, but I'm sure you've heard of what's going on in retail right now. Retail is in a position, along with other industries, where it needs to transform or die. And so what's going on is a lot of retailers are really trying to focus more on experiential, and that's why that number is so important to us, and I'll share a little bit more about how we measure that. Because while companies nod and agree that experiences are important, they don't know how to measure them. Not at all. So a little bit about London. When you raised your hand, have you been to London flagship? Is that where you've been? Okay. So this store has only been open 7 months. We kind of forget that at Microsoft because we're always thinking about what's next and we're really self-critical. Only 7 months. Take a map of London, you put a pin in the center of it, pretty much goes right through our store, okay? It's not cheap rent. Our landlord is the crown. The running joke is if we don't pay the rent, does she show up with the corgis, knock on the door, and ask what's up? Here's the interesting thing. We have 3 floors, 0, 1, 2. Over 40% of this location is what I call non-transacting. That's a lot of rent to be paying for space where nothing's being sold. Okay? This is our version of reimagined retail. So a few interesting things going on here. Like I said, 3 floors of engagement. The entire 2nd floor is for conversations like what I'm sharing with you right now, where we meet with enterprise customers and we share our journey and we ideate or we do trainings, anything to just kind of build those relationships. There's 45 languages alone spoken in this store because it's an insanely international, touristy part of town, and that includes British Sign Language. The fun thing, there's a few fun things about this, but I will point out, so if you look in the bottom I'm looking at his right-hand corner. So bottom right-hand corner of the store there is a $1.3 million Xbox controller, also known as the McLaren car, that we completely gutted, right? Here's the interesting thing. So that's a big experiential investment. There's also around that car Bosch cameras and some other technology that we've deployed, so I can tell you that that $1.3 million investment is paying off. I can show that it's bringing people into the store. I can show you that they're dwelling longer. I can show you that it's pulling them in deeper into the store. That's what it's like to measure and experience. And that's the kind of data that other retailers are trying to figure out how to gather. So London is absolutely fantastic. I'll give away the end, which is I would love for you to come visit if you haven't already, and we can talk a little bit more about that. So the other thing about London, I was telling you about the experiences. So traditionally, when you measure retail, it's within the four walls, right? It's inventory in, inventory out, cash received in exchange. With this store, we have to measure it differently. Microsoft's been in the UK for 35 years. There are over 1,000 employees down the street at Paddington. But when this store opened, Microsoft had arrived in the UK, right? John Carter, who runs our store, he understands that. You cannot measure a store like this. You cannot measure a reimagined flagship the way you measure retail traditionally. It's not dollars in, it's dollars out. That's part of it, keeps the lights on. But you have to think about all these beyond the four-wall measurements. This is what companies are struggling with right now, in addition to experiential, in addition to what technology to use. And we're fortunate to have the support of our CFO and different ways that we measure. That's a conversation I won't go into today, but that's a conversation that I end up talking quite a bit with retailers that you would all recognize like every single week. So the other thing you saw in the video is our focus on communities. I find that retailers know who they've been selling to, right? It's data. They know who they sell to. The big question is, who could you be selling to? Is there a particular group where if you like double down that investment, that you would get a 5x or 10x ROI? And so we've been working on this for 11 years. When we started 11 years ago, we didn't have all of these communities. But now, within our stores, we have dedicated headcount in each of these areas, and we measure them differently. Now, we all sell together and win as a team. However, we are specific on these communities, hiring people with specific skill sets and giving them specific actions to do and measuring them in specific ways to engage these communities. A couple examples, education. I'm not sure how it is here in the UK, but I will tell you in the States that teachers have the fewest amount of resources and even less training, right? So we go into that community and we bring them to the store or we go on site and we train them on the solutions that they have, right? We run free summer camps for kids. And if you think about it, there's very little transaction that's going to happen there, but what are we doing? We're building future brand ambassadors, and that requires a long-term goal in a business that when I joined shocked me, because it's not just that you measure to the week or to the day, you measure transactions to the hour in retail, right? And I'm asking them, our team's asking them to look up and measure out years for impact. For gaming, okay, so these guys argue they have the best job at the company. I have the best job at the company. But what they get to do is they get to host Fortnite Fridays, right? They get to work on social media to drive awareness around gaming. And if you think about how we measure gaming, gamers don't transact in a store. They're going to transact online, maybe at 2 a.m. or whenever. I mean, I know it's a stereotype, but seriously, it's how they transact. So how do you give credit to that physical location for something that happened online at 2 a.m. 10 kilometers away, right? And we have ways to do that. Small business is interesting simply because Microsoft, as you know, is changing our account management model, right? We're pushing more and more of our few resources, we're a partner-led business, more and more resources into the top accounts, which is leaving this really long tail without an account team, except for they have an account team, and it's a Microsoft store. And so to serve that need is we have business specialists and we have cloud specialists, and small businesses are coming to our store to figure out how to leverage technology to grow their businesses. We supply them with the hardware, we can supply them with the software, we can do the training, and we can do the support. We are a small business account team now. It was 40% of our business last year, it'll be 50% and more this year. It's critical. And again, that's about building a pipeline. It's not about daily or hourly transactions. Enterprise is what I'm talking about now. Local engagement, Microsoft gives back. Wherever we land, we get into that community. We understand what's important. We have these beautiful theater spaces, don't like it when they go empty. We're going to go out, we're going to work with Girl Scouts of America, we're going to work out with different groups, say, please come use our space. We would be happy to train you while you're there. We're building future fans, right? By the way, that slide, rarely do I leave that slide when I'm working with retailers, because they're trying to figure that out too. They're honestly trying to figure out who they can sell to. So as Microsoft, we like to talk about digital transformation in 4 pillars. The reason these exist is because digital transformation is overwhelming. These are guideposts. It's as simple as that. Because if you think about it, a really mature digital transformation solution is going to cross these pillars, right? If you invest in technology or invest in a way to know your customers better, by nature, you're empowering your employees. If you're going to reimagine your retail, what it looks like, your supply chain must evolve. Absolutely must, okay? So this is just helping people think about the digital transformation. Now there's something else going on, which is, it feels like, this is very 2000s what I'm going to describe. You can throw as much technology and money as you want at a problem or a perceived problem. If you lose the North Star of who your customer is or what that customer experience needs to be, and if you are fundamentally unaware of your employee culture, Janet Robb was just talking a lot about this in her change management session. You need to know what's going on in your employee culture, what technology can heighten and enhance and make an asset for you, and also some things that you need to address before you deploy that technology or solution. If you don't do that, it's not going to work at all. So we really need to be thinking holistically, and this is where I look back at you as our partner community about making sure that those other pieces are involved, because we all love to talk about our technology. So I will tell you, I changed the name of this slide when I joined the group. I wanted this to be definitive. So it's a mic drop. It's a Microsoft store, runs on Microsoft. And I will tell you that that was not exactly easy for many, many years to run a retail business on Microsoft. It's gotten much easier with some announcements made at NRF recently. I won't walk this entire slide, but I wanted to give you an idea, and I have one click down that might interest you a little bit more. But let me give you one example of this slide. So the in-store visual experience. You've been in a Microsoft store, many of you. One of our key, something we're known for, is this beautiful video wall, right? We have 83 locations. Most of them are not exactly the same, okay? And so we had to render for those video walls. It would take months. It was a third party that did it. We had server farms at our stores so they could run all of this. We moved that to Azure. Our rendering time went from months to days, okay? Our environmental impact went down a significant percentage because we don't have to have those servers anymore in the store. And on top of that, we now can create these Bellagio moments. So Bellagio, the fountains in Vegas with the, yeah, okay, just checking. So when Panos was announcing the new Surface on 10.2, we had the ability to, when he said a certain thing, press a button and all of the images in all the stores would change to support that, right? So think about it. With retail, it's so critical to get customers in the door, but what are you doing with the eyeballs when they're there? And so that's a great story there. So this next slide, I thought you might find interesting as well, which is we run on Dynamics. We use everything from Dynamics 365 for sales, to customer service, to insights, to marketing, and then we can talk a little bit about how we transact our business. And on top of that, we love Power Apps. Absolutely love Power Apps. So in regards to transactions, I'm going to be completely upfront with you. We are currently on Dynamics AX 2012 with a proprietary Windows point of sale system. And what's really interesting is I have account teams who are like, how could you? Oh my gosh, we can't talk to customers about that. Every single customer I have talked to, when I tell them the story of how we got there, which is we used to have a physical store group, we used to have a digital store group, like most retailers. At some point you look across that and you go, we got to bring this together, right? So you merge the people, and then you merge the processes, and then you merge the technology, right? By the time we got ready to merge the technology, guess what was coming? Dynamics 365 Commerce, okay? So when I talk with customers about this is how we got here, they're like, oh, thank God, us too. Literally every single customer. So that's my response to the account teams, which is, we're on AX 2012, so are all your customers. And in spring, we're moving to Dynamics 365 Commerce. And we're going to tell that story as we go, which is pretty cool, I think. So here's what I thought we would do for just a little bit of time, if you would like. I was going to show you some of the tools we use internally, which means no contoso, okay? Which means for those of you on the live stream, I'm very sorry, but we're going to take away the camera right now. You'll still hear me talk, but I need everybody else to raise your right hand. You don't have to literally raise your right hand. But I solemnly swear not to take pictures of what Carissa is about to show us and to say to everyone, Carissa was the best presentation at all. And I don't trust these two back here at all. So forgive me as you see ugly. And thank you for helping. Let me go. I should have got my mouse out because my touchpad doesn't work well. So one of the most interesting conversations that our team has with customers is this idea of how do you capture the voice of the customer? So everything's spewing data right now, right? There's so much data out there. It's not a question of gathering the data. It's a question of gathering the data the first time and being able to then visualize it to the groups that need it. So what we've done is we've built this great Power App. And all of our first-line workers use this Power App. And there's multiple pieces to it. This is a new version, by the way. So we can do things like a weekly question. This is super helpful to RLT and to our product teams because it basically every week we put out questions. Let's see if it's going to do it. Questions to gather feedback directly from the employees about, hey, what are you seeing here? Oftentimes it's about Surface. The one that I really like, and the one that we talk to customers quite a bit about, is this one called Product Insights. And you'll see it's very basic. And so it's almost kind of silly to show it to you guys because you know Power Platform so well. And this is really basic, right? It's graceful, but it's not like bells and whistles. But think about who's using it. It's my crazy busy first-line workers, right? They're out on the floor. They're using it on their phone or on their Surface. They have somebody come up going, you know something? I love that new Surface. Why isn't it in purple? I'd really like it in purple, right? I'm really angry it's not in purple. So what can happen is they can pull this app out and right there on the spot, capture that information. It's very simple. Can't really mess it up. You find what product, you say if it's a consumer or commercial, positive or a concern. By the way, did you hear that? I love this Surface. Why isn't it in purple? Is that positive or is that a concern? Right? So we help out our AI a bit by determining which one to put that under here. And then we can tell them more. Here's what happens though. It's super fascinating because all of that then goes into this beautiful Power BI across 83 stores, right? So I have interesting stories about this. When we first got, I won't name which one, we had a Surface product that came out and we had the demo units in the store before it was available for customers. And stores started to notice that the paint was chipping, right? And the stores are like, well, that's not good, I want a new one. So they started to put information like that into the tool saying, hey, listen, this is starting to chip. The thing about it is we had like 20-some stores tell us this, and we said, oh, wow, we have a problem. And so we were able to go to the manufacturer, go to the product group, who went to the manufacturer, who was able to pull that bad batch and redo them, get them to the stores. Okay, that's great, everybody's happy in the stores. Think about this. We got in front of that before customers got the product. We got in front of that before the press. Nobody had to go return a product, complain about it, because it was chipping. So that's just, you know, it might be a little bit of urban legend, but that's the impact of something like this. There are 3 key stakeholders, actually there's more, but 3 key stakeholders I'll tell you about that use this. One is our CMO, Chris Capicella. He's one of the biggest users of this Power BI because he's looking at marketing feedback, right? How are things going, et cetera. We report up through his org. Second group is Panos and his team, the group that creates Surface. A lot of the things you saw come out with the new Surface products are a result of feedback that was gathered directly by the store. And then the third is my leadership team. So, and you're looking at it going, that's a basic Power BI. That app that she showed, that's okay. I have literally been in front of so many customers who just stop us right here and go, we've spent 2 years and $10 million trying to do that. Right? Power BI, I know your account team, they already sold it to you, right? It's just fascinating. We had a customer who was about to do $10 million with Tableau come see us and go, wait, what? We can do that with Power BI? Yes, you can do that with Power BI. So Got all these cool filters in here. It's really fun to play with. You guys know this. I'm preaching to the choir here. But don't ever forget, as someone who's been with Microsoft for a long time, don't ever forget what these things look like to people who aren't as familiar with it as we are, right? This is the outcome. If you have questions about this, please let me know. But this is literally one of the most fun things to talk about. We've taken it to the next level, which is, yeah, go ahead, Ben.
I was in a customer briefing in Store Zero in Redmond when a very well-known U.S. retailer saw this. I think that we take this for granted. The
Yes.
look of shock and awe on their face is like, wait, your associates actually put feedback in that somebody actually reads? Was actually a like
Yes.
that was a massive, like their brains were blown just by thinking that, because they have no way of capturing any feedback from anything along their supply chain.
Exactly. Well, no, it's great. It reminds me of a couple things, which is, one, think about yourself as a consumer. You've undoubtedly given feedback to someone at some point in time, and you know the moment you walked out that door that feedback just probably went nowhere, right? But by empowering our first-line workers to actually sit there with the customer and go, okay, let's capture this feedback now, that puts them in a different position. It also, I get asked this question quite a bit, well, how are you incenting your associates to use this, right? Are you paying them for how many insights they put in? Don't have to. Because if you do that, it like games it, right? And then people are gonna start making stuff up. I don't have to. We don't have to. Because what happens oftentimes is, and you can see it on the Power BI, it shows what store. And we've had cases where the product team have followed the chain back to the store going, okay, I saw this feedback, I'd like to know more. Can I talk to whoever entered this feedback? So the first line workers, again, feel heard. And then, like I said, when the Surface products came out, we saw the feedback we had given. So remember that slide with the digital transformation pillars? This one crosses. This is the best example I have of that. So, and this is something you guys could be working with your customers on all the time, right? To just talk about that outcome. What are they talking to you about right now? Are they trying to enable their first-line workers? Are they trying to figure out what their customers are saying? Are they trying to transform their products? This will do all of that. And if you talk in the outcome, you might get farther than if you talk in the technology. Now, the other thing that's coming out is that we're using a lot of AI right now. And we're not just looking at what's the feedback we've gotten, but what are possibly some emerging trends that are coming, right? And so this will go through all of the data and just start picking things out that might be of interest so that we can get in front of it. I find this is brand new. I find this fascinating. This is picked up on things like some price change, some price announcements that are coming out from competitors. It's very fascinating what's going on with this. And this is all based on AI. So with that was one I wanted to talk to you about. It was this one. Let me go back into this mode. Are my subtitles showing on there? Are they showing? Okay, good. I want to make sure of that. It's really important to me. So we just did capturing the voice of the customer. There's a couple other things I thought I might share, which, by the way, if we want to bring the live stream back, they can come play again. Thank you. So screenshots, caption the voice of the customer. You can get a view online of what I just showed there. So the other thing that's really popular right now is this whole idea of modern store operations and collaboration. Remember when I was talking about how first-line workers are the extension of a brand? So many people know this, yet they won't invest in their first-line workers to begin with. I realize this is a power platform kind of group, but let's talk about Teams for a second. There's this fear of having first-line workers on their phones, right, in front of customers. Guess what? They're on their phones anyways. Seriously, they really are. So why not equip them to use the phones in a secure chat model? Why not, enable them to use their phones to gather that data? So a lot of the conversations we're having now with customers is around enabling those first-line workers with Teams, right? And I honestly, I hinted I've been at the company a little while. I haven't seen a collaboration product. This is not a diss on others, but you can kind of, backtrack into one that has taken a hold quite as quickly as Teams, right? Think about London. So London is 7 months new. All those employees were new to Microsoft. They had to come in and learn a whole new technology suite. They had to learn a new positioning. Right now, if I went to them and said, I'm taking Teams away, they'd be like, well, please don't. That's how we run our business. It's so critical for them. So we use Teams, combination of SharePoint, we've got channels going. It's really fascinating. This is one of the top conversations that we are having with not just retailers, but other companies. Something for you to think about as you're going through your pursuits, which is how you can be sure that you're making sure that you're really servicing everyone within a company, because those first-line workers sometimes really get overlooked. And then finally, this has a lot to do with what I mentioned about that $1.3 million Xbox controller, which is how we're partnering with Bosch and some of the other things we're doing with Azure Monitor on our demo machines, right, to track where people are doing, how they're engaging, et cetera. Because I literally have had conversations with brands that you know where they said, oh yeah, we're going experiential. We put $1 million blah, blah, blah in this store on Fifth Avenue. Great, how's that going? Well, people seem to like it. I go, okay, well, what data do you have to support that? Well, we have these anecdotal feedbacks that people really like it. Okay, that's not gonna work with the CFO, right? And so it's like, how do you actually measure how you're engaging with your customers? So that was pretty much what I wanted to share today. You know, in summary, I would say that, you know, outcomes make the story. You guys do amazing work as our partner community, and thank you for everything you do. Power Platform really is democratization, right, of data and access. Don't forget the outcome. Sometimes we show things because it's cool. There's no transformation without a North Star. I was talking about that. Technology should support culture, not the other way around. There's a very cool video out there from NRF featuring IKEA, and it talks about their use of Teams. And the woman in the video says, you know, the culture was always there. The Microsoft solution made it stronger. And my first thought on that was, she stole my line. But then the second thought is, she's right. That's how it should be. Technology needs to make a culture stronger. The culture isn't supposed to support the technology, right? And then finally, come to London. So my team engages with accounts every single day, every single week. If you are interested in bringing an account to London, and we will spend anywhere between 90 minutes and a half day, walking through the store, showing the different technology, going deeper than I did into how we do voice of customer or any of the other 8 curated solutions that we have, including Biz Apps. Happy to do that. Account team needs to be involved. Would love to have you there. But the offer is open. Feel free to reach out to me. And if you didn't see it earlier, LinkedIn, Carissa A. Happy to connect. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll be here for a while. I hope this was beneficial. I realize it's a little bit different than me showing you how to code something, but I really appreciate your time. Thanks.